The halving is upon us. It's coming in 2 days. What are we going to expect with this halving? I'm Jeremy, aka School of Crypto, and I'm bringing you another Bittensor video. So right now, there's one TAO that's emitted per block, and that amounts to 7,200 TAO emitted per day. And actually in 2 days, on December 15th, that emission will go down from 1 TAO per block to a half a TAO per block. So that means there's going to be 3,600 TAO emitted each and every day. So what exactly does that mean? In terms of Bitcoin, when they had their halving, basically the miners would be getting half the block reward if they solve that equation in the SHA-256 hash algorithm. But in terms of this halving, it's a lot different. It doesn't necessarily actually influence the miner or the validator rewards or the staker rewards. Basically what it does is it takes half of the emissions into the respective liquidity pools. So if you don't know, each subnet actually has a liquidity pool that is half TAO and half of their own alpha tokens. So what this TAO injected is actually in the LPs themselves. It's not actually rewards. So instead of that 1 TAO being emitted and split amongst all 128 subnets, it's actually going into it's going to half a TAO that's going into all these subnets, and then you're going to take a percentage of that, and then that alpha is being injected in the other half of the LP. So there's a little bit of a misconception out there that this TAO halving will actually have an effect in the rewards, and that's not the case. So the alpha tokens themselves actually have a halving that's going to occur in about 2.5 years, and those are where the actual rewards come from. So the alpha tokens go to 41% of the validators, 41% goes to the actual miners, working on these subnets, and then 18% goes to the actual subnet owners. So that is, those rewards are not going to change. It's really going to be the liquidity infused in the actual LPs, the liquidity pools, that is ultimately going to change. And what exactly does that mean? So basically, there's going to be a little bit of a tight liquidity crunch on the new subnets that come into the fold for Bittensor after the halving occurs. So you have all these 128 subnets that have had this 1 TAO being injected into the respective pools based on the emissions that they get, and then they slowly build up their pool. But it's going to get even slower because you're only having a half of a TAO per block being injected in all these liquidity pools. So that is ultimately going to be a little bit tricky in terms of these new subnets and their liquidity pools and building it up, because you want to have a lot of liquidity in your pool in order to maintain a strong TAO price in order to continue to get emissions. So how do you continue to get emissions? Well, that's TAO flow, right? It's an 87-day EMA average that shows how much buy pressure that's going into your respective liquidity pool. And believe it or not, if you have neutral or negative flow, that basically a lot of people selling your alpha tokens, then you're actually not going to get emissions at all. So this is, in my opinion, ultimately going to be the more important change. It's the TAO flow rather than the actual halving, because the TAO flow determines the emissions and the halving determines the liquidity in the pools. So ultimately, in my opinion, that is the bigger deal. You do have less TAO that's being infused in these liquidity pools, so less TAO going out in the wild, and but ultimately it's being locked in those liquidity pools, right? So like people need to sell alpha tokens, get the TAO, and then they'd be able to sell it on exchanges. But inherently it's just in the pool, right? So that is something that I just wanted to kind of explain in terms of what this halving means and what it means for new subnets, what it means for the liquidity pools, and how it doesn't necessarily affect the actual alpha rewards, because that has a halving itself. So what do you guys think is going to be the impact on this? Do you think that the TAO price is going to rise even amidst a little bit of a downturn in the overall crypto market? Do you think it's going to be a sell the news event? Do you think that it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of come into play in terms of price appreciation? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you like this content, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Take care.